the fear and the crucifixion of light bearing witches. They were the first to observe important principles that govern the natural and material plane. They discovered wisdom of how the three dimensions of the earth world paradigm affected each other simultaneously, consistently, and was one perpetual motion of all eventualities. They understood the natural way of word spelling on every sphere of reason or existence. Word was reckoning, and reckoning was every pinnacle involved in all aspects of cause and effect. Therefore, time and space and events surrounding material existences were nothing but word in its defining reality. There was nothing else. Whatever word defined existed. Whatever word authorized as real was real, and there would nothing be outside of this equation. Reality itself, in the witch's mind, was word in its defining reality. Existence in itself, in the witch's mind, was word in its defining reality. Hello, my people. Skywalker raises another deep topic from this dark place by this conception of light. If there is any ray of light in it for you, by any way you conceive it, like, share, and subscribe so that the light will continue to shine. By their way of observing and discovering the simple secrets of nature, the witches were the revered ones, even the saviors of the population, because by their wisdom, their minds that pierced through the crystals of the orb, they brought forth great wonders to manifest on the material plane, and by this, these divine inventions made life better or easier in the minds of the population. The witches discovered electricity, gunpowder, steam engines, and armed the world with science, or science as magic. However, two things that came with science caused science to become a threat. One was power and the other was superstition. As they armed the world with science magic, the world became superstitious by trying to conceive these impossibilities as really manifesting. These were the first men that knew how to become the gods, to create paradigms and cultivate the human mindsets by spelling as abracadabra, speaking it into being. So we now come to the understanding that the first understanding of science was as witches or wizards. In fact, the very definition of wisdom was to say the wizard. We have wizards around us all day, every day, and these are not men and women that fly around on brooms cackling and making evil chants to destroy. Neither are we saying that just because the witches or wizards were wise and that they brought forth the first semblance of science and better understandings of the universe will mean that some were never on the dark side. By all means, in all demographics, there will always be the good and the bad, like light witches and dark ones. However, the contention with witches had nothing to do with them either being good or bad. It simply had to do with the battle for power, the great secrets of science, witchcraft passed down from extra dimensional channels or by mere observation was the new sense of godhood. It was seen by many as wisdom to only be known or practiced by gods, just a given few, or those that reckon themselves befitting of such title, the title of gods, the elite, the chosen few. There would be an elite, and if the common man knew too much, that elite would fail. So power was given to go and take all the wisdom from the wise. The power was given to go and take all the wisdom from the wise ones before destroying them. When all this knowledge was gleaned, Witchcraft was tabooed, witchcraft was tabooed and outlawed. So there would be not a single person to teach the masses that elevating wisdom that makes a man no lesser than God regardless of his circumstances. So now, this benevolent one who brought so much hope in the beginning was made the villain, and even those he or she helped was set out to point out and destroy him. These destructions and gleaning of the wisdom to make it secret or esoteric, and then to give the power of government to the esoteric, began and continued for thousands of years. But even until today, in the most subtlest forms, the definitions of the words are confused in order to confuse the mind with barbar spells of confounded vision. The definitions of words are confused in order to confuse the mind with barbar spells or confounded vision. Word sound is power. When I recently talked about subliminal messages and the way of fixing prefixes to words to stigmatize the meaning, either speaking to conscious or subconscious, I was explaining facts surrounding the subliminal agreements with death and sacrifice. I repeat that word sound is power. Root words that sound exactly alike from the beginning are supposed to be from the same root. However, the English language was not made by natural form as it would defeat its purpose. It was deliberately kind and recently too as a spell language for zombification of the human earth, and it continues to grow in that order. It works the opposite way, that it introduces spell words as homophones, defining words that sound alike but mean something different. Call them homophones all day. The purpose of these words are for subliminal messaging. In at least 80% to 100% of the times, the circumstances around what these words define will come back to them meaning the same thing. For example, if you are talking about blood sacrifice, calling people sheep, and you the shepherd, and even including that one must prostrate, bow, surrender, or pray, prey, which in this case of bowing to a predator would be prey as prey, it is already obvious that the word prey as that which surrenders to the predator is also belonging to the list. Then just because they tell you about homophones, that they will also imply to you that them spelling prey as pray means it has nothing to do with the entire picture here, where the subject was supposed to subject and bow and sacrifice. You now say that it is a different thing that suddenly appears as pray, which fits into the exact picture as prey. It is the same damn thing because you are proving it over and over again in the same sentence, paragraph, and book. Why on earth could a technicality of giving a word a title change the fact that the word has its meaning and purpose anyway from an original base and by the power of word sound? The moment someone comes with arguments like this, you know that this person is futile. This is witchcraft. You put some shit in a grey gray bucket, and you say that sitting gray bucket means pudding. Sitting gray bucket means pudding. But every time you talk about sitting gray bucket, you explain that it is stink waste. It comes from rearing the son of man, and it is nasty if brown. But it's different from shit in gray bucket, the original, because it is homophonic. And there was no mocking undertone either to say it's nasty and brown, but it's nasty if brown. Fine. It's nasty if brown. It's not nasty and brown because you're stupid. It is brown. So it is nasty. So it's not if it's brown. So what now? What now? Man, get the fuck out of here. My mind is not wired to accommodate this level of reasoning. I don't mean it as an insult. I honestly am this way. People, if you are so desperate to prove a point, you are not reasoning to uplift yourself. For as you speak, you must also listen. That is, if you honestly want the truth and not to enforce the whatever. If it is mockery and subliminal messaging, it is. That's why I tell you it is. You will get your heaven, but you will have to surrender as the gray, as they pray, as they pray. You will have to surrender as they pray, and they will come for you and send you to heaven as soon as you die. So you will get to heaven, but you must surrender as they pray. They will come for you. You will get there as soon as you die. Many of you did comprehension exercises in school, right? You did your comprehension exercises at least in high school. But now you play like you're dumb. All these come from the same wisdom of spelling, but with that wisdom a threat in the lower ebb of society. I mean, a threat to those that wanted to be higher gods. The witches were attacked. They were burnt on crosses and up on stakes for years. They were labeled as devils and evil beings, but yet no ordinary human has ever shown the degree of love or empathy of a light witch. Not today or any other day, but he was ever sacrificed. He came with a gift to mankind, and salvation was in his palm. Today, witches operate under signed contracts in conventional chains, conventional bondage. A young man in Africa made a television and a refrigerator that you only had to turn on without electricity. Next time I read about him, he was poisoned. We can go on and on. We are elements of this plane attack and given energies and free will on this day. But they are not a threat to humanity. The human masses is the threat to humanity. You cannot turn against all for you alone to get a personal good and say you do this for your children. That is stupid. Study all the witches spell over time. Spells across all spheres, from mind science to a light switch or a mathematical formula, like one that Pythagoras stole and called his own. A natural principle he learned in Egypt, but he called it by his name. This is the world that witches must face, being staked and burned upon crosses. Peace out.